All right. Well, welcome to another Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder and executive editor for Running Wild and RIZE presses, and I'm here with you on Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern Time, to answer whatever questions you may have. It can be around creative writing, it can be about publishing, the business of writing, the business of publishing, what have you. And typically, I'm here with some of our fellow editors, such as the gentleman joining us now, Ben.
How about that? Just in time.
You did it. It was like magic. It was as if I summoned you. Same with Peter. Woo! How are you guys?
Hello. I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. Awesome. Fantastic to see you both. Hey,
Same.
Peter, how'd you do the little bubble thing that says editor underneath your name?
It was on the welcome screen that we were just at.
Oh, cool.
Right underneath, yeah.
All right, nice.
I just noticed it for today.
You'll have to play with that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, Ben will have to play with that so that you guys know.
See what I can put under my name.
Oh, Lord.
I was going for editor, but it came out idiot. I don't know what happened.
I don't know, man. It's crazy town. Margaret says, hey, Lisa. Caroline says, hey, guys. Great toes, all of you. Margaret, hey, Ben and Peter. See, everybody knows you guys better than me. I don't need to be here.
That's Margaret, though. She just misses Cody. She would trade both of us for one Cody. We know that.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
true.
I think that's true across the board. They trade all three of us for one Cody. CJ says, hey, how are you? I think we're all doing pretty good. Happy Thursday to everybody who's joining us. Hopefully you're having an awesome almost end of your week. I know for me, Monday felt like Friday 2.0, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm definitely ready for the weekend. Let's just put it that way. How about you guys? How is your week so far?
Week's been good. Today's my Wednesday. I have work tomorrow and Saturday as usual. But my in-laws are coming, or my outlaws are coming this Saturday for Mother's Day, so we're looking forward to that. Getting the house all ready. Everything else is same old, which is a good thing.
Where are they coming in from, Peter?
From Punta Gorda, Southwest Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, between Sarasota and Fort Myers.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben? How you doing, young man?
Doing well. Just plugging right along. That 15-week course that we crammed into 3 weeks is in its third week, so it's production week. Just grading.
Man, that's a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, some students say it's a what? Because they think they just signed up for a summer, 12, 15-week course. Then they find out it's a 3-week course and they say, I think I'll drop this one.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get you through. Yeah.
Nice.
It's organized.
It reduces the number of kids you got to juggle.
There's about 25 in there.
Wow. So this is online?
Yeah, it's online in 3 weeks, and they jump in and hang on, and then it's over, though. That's they get their 3 credits in 3 weeks.
Wow. Oh, my
doable.
God.
Cool.
Are they only taking the one class?
Yes, mostly.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't. There is another intersection course they can take, but I don't know how many people actually take 2 intersections because it would be really intense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm imagining they wouldn't sleep.
Sleep.
Who needs that? Clearly, no one on this live stream.
That's true.
It is, yeah, totally. Well,
It keeps you busy, but once you hit week 2, it's they have a routine, and then week 3 is just turning the assignments and the project. It works. It's doable.
Is it every day of the week or a couple days a week?
It's online, so it's really self-paced. For me, it's every day of the week because students will log in and post discussions and have discussions, ask questions. And so I'll log in every day and reassure them that they can do it. But some students, it's online, so they wait till Sunday night to do everything.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I spent this week working on, I'm speaking at the Diamond Valley Writers Conference or Guild, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And then I forgot that I get to review people's the initial 10 pages of a manuscript that they've written for the California Crime Writers Conference. And that comes up in, I think, mid-June. So if anybody is watching and you're planning on going to the California Crime Writers Conference, it's not my fault that you were assigned me. Just in case when we meet up at the actual conference and you're like, what the hell? I wanted someone famous and, huge bestseller, blah, blah, blah. This is not my fault. So, and I promise you, the feedback should at least be half decent. At least it's the feedback I've been getting so far. So there you go. But I have to start working on those. I got them this week. So yeah, and still working on tweaking our business plans so that we can get some additional backing as we continue to do stuff like produce our own audiobooks. We've got, oh my gosh, we have a ton of audiobooks, by the way, in the middle of production. I'm just looking it up now. We have 19 projects in play right now. So that's 19.
Well, who's narrating them?
So the way we're using ACX, which is an expansion of Amazon. And what you do is you go in, you describe your project, you give them the first 10 pages, something like that. You tell them the kind of voice you're looking for. And then audio actors have a chance to review it. And then they submit their interpretation of the first 15 pages or 10, however many pages. You then review the auditions, and then you pick who you want to actually be the live actor. So yeah, we just basically take all the auditions and we send them to the author, because you figure, most authors have been working on their piece for so long that they'll hear the right voice when they hear it. So yeah, and you can get some pretty decent voice actors in that way.
So no AI.
No AI, no.
We all know that's coming.
Although honestly, one of the authors said one of them sounded like AI. Which was interesting, because I'll be honest, I didn't listen to him. I don't have time to sit here and listen to 15 auditions for 19 per book,
Right.
And I'm actually impressed, because almost every single author, I say within an hour or two of me sending them the auditions, they come back with who their top 3 are.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, they're really into it, which is awesome, right? I mean, that's totally what we want. So yeah, so yeah, expanding on that, and finishing up some paperbacks, and then we've got some special projects on the side that we've been doing for some folks that we love, and so just kind of wrapping everything up as well as we can, I guess you could say. So
Cool.
And then also taking advantage of the fact that it is Restaurant Week in Los Angeles. So trying to hit up some of those restaurants that normally would be a little bit cost prohibitive to actually go to. And I think tomorrow's the last day of Restaurant Week. So Yeah, a friend of mine and I are gonna hit up a steakhouse tomorrow, so that should be a lot of fun. How about you guys? Do you have anything? Oh, I'm also doing a recording that I'll share the info in detail on it later on. So I'm going to be speaking at StokerCon, which is the Horror Writer Association's conference. That's in June. But in the meantime, one of the panels that I was submitted to be a part of, it didn't get accepted for this year. It might, just because the sheer volume of requests that came through. But we're actually going to be recording it for a master's program on Sunday. And it's called A Spoonful of Sugar. And it's actually really cool. It's basically about more of the business side, some of the aspects of the business side of publishing that, you may not think about, like getting blurbs and getting reviews and, I guess you could say like speakers or advocates. And why is this important? And, do you pay for it and stuff like that? So I'm actually really curious to hear the other panelists' responses, because I'd love to know, what they're up to and what their perspective is. So yeah. So what about you guys? What are you up to this weekend? Other than the parents-in-law.
The Outlaws. I like to call them the Outlaws.
I'm sorry, the Outlaws.
Mm-hmm. The name they coined, by the way. But
what? Say it again. I'm sorry.
They coined the term Outlaws.
Oh, well then it's totally cool. Okay.
They're really cool people. Love to hang out with them. We stay up a little bit too late. We drink a little bit too much. We talk a lot. So it's a really good visit, good time. And they're coming over, so entertaining them for a couple days. And back to the grind. Nowhere near my life is nowhere near
I'm sorry, what were you saying? And who has a dog?
He's leaving now.
Oh, okay.
No, I asked you, Peter, if they're coming over for Mother's Day or just for the weekend. Just another weekend.
For Mother's Day.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So Ben, what are you doing for your wife on Mother's Day?
Whatever she tells me to.
That's every day. Come on, man.
That is every day. Yeah. If she tells me to pick her up flowers after 36 years of marriage, I know that means stop by and get her a cup of coffee somewhere. It's a code. Flowers mean coffee.
Got it. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So did you guys encounter anything this week that, whether it's in the media or in the books that you're editing, or any authors that you want to bring up? We don't have to name names, by the way. This can be completely anonymous.
I'm editing. You might know that author really well.
Oh, that's fine. If you want to trash that author, it's completely okay.
No, she's been very active. She's I think I counted up like 500 edits that she's gone through and looked at. So we're rolling along. We are rolling along.
You may want to go back and check. She got through all of them but one.
I'll get back in there.
Although they were very generous edits. It was like a comma here, a period there. Like, don't call someone this kind of thing.
And some quotations in one chapter. Mm-hmm. The speaker forgot she was speaking.
That sounds like that
took
was
care of that.
Late night.
And Caroline, while I was waiting for that author to get back, I am into Tear at the Sound of a Whistle, so that one's rolling as well. You'll see it shared here pretty soon.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm just finishing up Death Heaven by one of my favorite authors, and it finally turned light. I mean, it was so dark and so intense and so deep, and his writing is so good and descriptive. It just pulls you in. So when he's talking about these dark, deep, these horrible things happening, you're right there experiencing it. So it's kind of hard to separate yourself from the words, which is great writing, but at the same time, it's like, thank God there's finally some sunlight happening in the story. So I'm like 20 pages from the end, so I have no idea what's going to happen, but I know the ending is going to be something killer because it always is. So I'm excited. So not doing much editing, actually. I'm doing some more higher level editing, like moving scenes around and seeing, do we want to focus on this? Do we want to foreshadow that a little bit, kind of thing, as opposed to just basically just commas and spellings and quotation marks that sometimes I have issues with.
It's all good.
Yep.
Caroline says, terrific. Ben, didn't want to ask as I know you are busy.
You can always ask. I'll just say I'm busy. I'm busy.
I have never seen you speak that way except in jest. I'm just saying. I speak that way. There's usually a migraine involved if I am. So anyway, so anybody watching, or if you're watching this and it is not Thursday between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time, don't forget that this is your chance to ask us whatever you want. And we always go back and check actually we get notifications, or I get notifications whenever somebody asks a question. So don't forget to go ahead, put your questions or comments in the comments section of this live stream. We'll pick it up and we'll be more than happy to answer whatever questions you may have, as long as it's not obscene, on the subsequent Thursday. So again, you're welcome to ask us anything that you want. So one thing that was really cool, I actually just got out of a session about AI and machine learning and how that's really helpful for metadata, and how metadata is being used today to better target audiences. So like when you go on, say, Netflix, and you're doing AI, they use AI and machine learning to remember what it was that you were most interested in previously, and then tailor images and the tags and descriptions of the movies, TV shows, the programming to fit what you are most interested in based on what you've previously watched. So of course I was immediately like, dude, we could totally use this for like books and paperback and audio books. Like, ooh, because it's not just the descriptions that they adjust, it's also the images. So how cool, I don't know, I just thought that was pretty cool. But
algorithms are going to take over the world.
Totally. I don't think it'll ever take over writing. I mean, it may be able to provide a generic construct of a story based on, prompts. But
right.
If you want anything that's going to have any kind of real depth, I think it has to come from a human. So
I agree.
Caroline says, hey, Ben, I hope it won't be that hard. It was edited by some great people.
Oh, it's always very hard.
If it's hard, it's probably more so because you, young man, have far too much on your plate. But I'm just saying.
Actually, look to chapter 5 in that one. It's rolling right along.
See,
with only 4,000 edits so far. That's not true. It's not true. It's only 3,500.
Caroline,
how many red pens have you gone through?
If you want to go after him later, I would totally understand.
There you go.
All right, so Ben, Peter, what of all the books that you've edited, what has been your absolute favorite, and why?
Yours, because it's yours.
No, okay. Other than me, we can't. Don't include me.
Is that transparent? I was transparent with
I think for me it was what was the title of it? The main character's name was Kindred. I forget the title of it. What was the title of it? Hell, it won this Kirkus Starred Review.
Oh,
Anyway, what's that?
Not Curtis's?
It is Curtis's, yeah.
Oh.
His first one. I forget the name of it. I mean, it's right there, but it's dark in the room here, so I can't see it.
Hold on. I'll look it up for you. That was your favorite?
Yeah, what I liked about it was, and like I said, I'm on the third book of his edit, but what I liked it was his imagery is spot on. He's very much unity of thought with the Poe approach. The images do match up with the novel, and just the scenes and situations he puts his characters into. I mean, they're harrowing as well as at the same as well as being delightful in other ways. I mean, he really plays with levels. He really makes sure that the audience is really immersed in the experience, so we hit all five senses on a pretty regular basis. And it's edge of your seat kind of reading. I mean, you really don't want to put it down because you've got to find out what's happening next. So just when it's gripping like that and it's positive, and scary and horrible can be positive as well, just because that's part of storytelling. Mm-hmm. But that sort of experience is what really draws me in as a reader as well as an editor.
It's the Magpie's Return.
Sorry, what?
The Magpie's Return.
That's it, Magpie's Return.
Mm-hmm.
I had something to do with it.
And I got a starred review, and it was one of the best of for Kirkus for 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it. How about you, Ben, other than me?
That's a tough choice because it's like trying to pick out your favorite child, because they were all different, but it was they were all rewarding in their own ways.
But there's always one.
You go back to just the settings, and I fall into the stories as they go. So it's if I had to pick one, if I was forced to pick one, I think it goes back to Tone Milazzo's The Faith Machine.
No way.
It was one of my first ones, and I probably learned more about editing working with him than I knew. And the more than I knew I was supposed to know. Oh yeah, I guess I'd do that. But it's so if it narrowed down right now today. But there's White Oaks, there's Bughouse Blues, there's Shocking Pink, there's Heather Finch. Heather Finch on its own right was a good one as well. Mm. Legendary, and then the creative nonfiction with Alicia. And Something is Better Than Nothing. That was some great conversations that she and I had going through that book. Mm-hmm. And again, a lot to learn. But so they're all good, but not as good as Cure and Family Pack.
Yeah.
I know, Margaret, I'm being careful.
Yeah, that's it. It's funny, like I'm looking at the ones that I've edited, and I have to admit, I'm right there with you, Ben. Like I love them all, but for different reasons. Yeah. I really love the novella, the anthologies, especially because, you get all these different flavors, and different experiences in each one of them. I adore this one, the Recon trilogy by some guy, Ben B. White. I don't know.
Here he comes. That's a great book. It was tremendous.
It was tremendous. No, that really is. I love that narrative poem collection. I also completely adore The Many Deaths of Cole Parker by Taylor Grant. That's actually a short story collection, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And I love the short story collections by Dwight L. Wilson for several reasons. One, I mean, it's just really great storytelling, really, really good writing. And Dwight, believe it or not, was my, so I went to a Quaker school, high school, which is, high school is called upper school. And he was the overall advisor for the upper school. So this gave me a more personal engagement with him and understanding of him and his life and his family, because it's like fictionalized short stories about his family and their background, and they're lovely. And so, and being able to engage with him on a much more personal level, it was just like an absolute gift. And then Dark Corners by Teehee Hazlett. So Teehee and I went to the same MFA program, and these are the short stories that he had been writing during the MFA program. And I only did like a cleanup edit. He had a different editor who he worked with, but it was named one of the best of 2019. I also adore Sodom and Gomorrah on a Saturday Night by Krista Miller. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. It was actually called A Harsh and Intriguing Journey Through a Patriarchal, Profit-Centered Future by Kirkus. And it was one of those that, like, I had encouraged her to take a short story and make it into a longer piece. And I still think she did an amazing job. And of course, I love Dance Among the Flames by Tori Eldridge. That was just so fun to look over and read and edit and work with Tori on. Just really, really adored it. So, which means I didn't directly answer my own question, but hey.
Good titles in there.
Yeah, lots of good titles in there. Margaret Buchanan says, describe the manuscript you acquired, but not the type of novel you read.
That you read. Yeah.
Oh, you read. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm not sure I understand the question, but
it's like, if we had a favorite, but we chose a manuscript that wasn't necessarily our genre or our topic or
oh, thank you.
What we would normally pick up and read ourselves.
Got it. I'm gonna punt. One of you guys start.
Oh, I explained it so well.
You did.
I can do a little bit of digging here.
So one acquired, but it's not necessarily the genre that you read.
Yeah.
I tend to go towards literary because I love character-driven plots as opposed to event-driven plots. But there are novels I come across that aren't exactly literary, but that have just a way with words that the actions are just pull you into the novel, pull you into the story. Mm. So that's why I'll work outside my preferred genre, and plus taking what other people what the other editors have to say about the books. But yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's a cliche, and I hate cliches, but it all comes down to the writing. It really does.
That was the best cop-out answer ever. That is a good question. I'm actually going into our Submittable and looking up different stories because I don't know how to answer this. It's a good one.
On the surface, we accept a lot of memoirs, and I don't read that many memoirs for sure. And there's probably some stories that I've edited that I wouldn't necessarily pick up, and so the romance of Shocking Pink in the porn industry. That was a great romance.
I almost went there.
It's out and released, I think, too. So look for Shocking Pink.
Yeah.
But actually, I got that because another editor couldn't do it because of the setting. She said, I can't edit this. Give it to Ben.
I can't edit porn. Give it to Ben. By the way, it's not actually porn. It's just based in the porn.
That's right. It's not at all. It's characters. It's character driven and people driven in the porn industry.
Exactly. It's character driven in the porn industry, which, yeah, I'm not going to go there.
The directors were interesting.
The directors were interesting?
The directors of the films. They had lives beyond the films. They were very artistic, creative people.
Ah, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, yeah, I also don't read very many memoirs, and we do tend to acquire a few just because the writing's really good. I'd say, yeah, I agree. Shocking Pink. It's probably not a book that I would normally pick up just because I don't read porn, and just knowing that it's in the porn industry, although it's not porn, I probably would not have. But it was a really unique voice.
Yeah.
And a really fun read, put it that way. So.
And behind the scenes, the author of Shocking Pink, his daughter is one of our short story writers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there's a connection there to the anthology. I think she's in a couple of anthologies.
I was going to say, who came first, her or him?
She did.
Oh, so she must have said, "Hey, Dad, you can't get published anywhere. Yeah. These guys." Yeah. Oh my goodness. Margaret says, "Ben's the trooper." Oh, you have no ideas. Ben, like we've gotten stories that like nobody wanted to edit, but like everybody wanted to publish it, but nobody wanted to edit it. And Ben went, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." So, I'm trying to think if there was any.
Another one with Obsidian Waste. That was a fun one with Rudolfo Serna. He I've talked about it before, how we talked about the format on the page, how we want it to look. And it's a dystopian, futuristic science fiction novel with a Hispanic flavor to it. So I think it was published under Rise, I think. So
yeah, it was.
Yeah. He he said Rise is for people of color, and Rodolfo said, "Well, I'm technically a color, so that's like technicolor." Okay.
I could totally see him saying that.
But we formatted it on the page, and that was a fun one to do as well, because it's once he said, "Yeah, I like the way I hear it poetically, so to see it in a poetic format only helps." So we had some fun with that one.
Very cool.
Yeah. Give it to Ben.
I also don't read YA, and we've acquired a couple of stories. Well, I mean, once upon a time I did read YA. I just haven't read it in a long time. We've acquired a couple of stories that are technically YA. So, but back to Peter's point, it's all about, if it's great writing, who cares the genre? Like actually, I'm teaching the class I'm teaching on, not this weekend, but next weekend at Diamond Valley Writers Guild around structure. I'll be talking about like thriller, mystery, romance, and memoir structures. And I'm going to toss out also a method that if someone's having a challenge, figuring out what the structure is to their book, some techniques on how you can figure it out and how you can basically leverage pre-existing novels. But like I don't read romance. I'll be honest, one of the reasons I included romance is because I know there is a set structure to all romances, and it's known in the industry. And some people who write in romance genre, they specifically write in the genre because they know that they can use this structure. It's actually the same thing with mysteries. They the structure is predefined, and as long as they stick to that structure, then they're, and they're good to go, right? It doesn't matter if it's a dime store novel or a huge, New York Times bestseller. But I was also really blown away because when I was doing my homework to make sure, I had all my notes and everything for the class, that when it listed out like the best-selling romance novels of all time, it included books like the 100 Years of Solitude, which I adore, but I consider that to be a literary novel, not a romance novel. So I think to a certain extent, a lot, the actual genre that a book is published in can be a little bit subjective, depending on who's reading it, if that makes sense. So, Margaret asks, which is your preference, commercial or literary novels? Punt.
I think I've already answered that one. Definitely literary.
Yeah. And
how about you, Ben?
I would agree. I think it's so many times you think literary novel, you've got to go back to the books literary, and go back to what is classic and literary and classic. So it's good to find one that raises that same amount of appreciation. That's not necessarily an ancient classic by an author everyone knows. Mm-hmm. So it's good to find those. But I think what we see most of is the commercial efforts.
I admit I'm a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I love commercial and literary. It just comes down to if it's great writing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Which admittedly, it may sound like a cop-out answer, but it's not. It's the truth. Yeah, because you would be surprised. I mean, there are a lot of commercial writers, or those who are considered commercial writers, who are really writing more. It's more literary, but it has enough of a commercial feel, or the genre that they're basically writing in is commercial enough that it's considered a commercial title. And there are literary stories that are, really have a great pace to them. The sentences are shorter, the chapters are shorter, and so on. So the pacing's, much tighter. And but yet it's considered literary because of typically, to Peter's point, it's character driven. It doesn't follow a standard commercial structure in terms of the story, meaning it's not, it's not a thriller, it's not a mystery, it's not, a YA or a romance. So a lot of times what happens is, in those cases, the books are put in those in that it's considered a literary or a commercial based on what they think is going to sell the best. So Margaret says, sorry.
Well, I think commercial is easier to find, but if it instills that appreciation for the literary aspects of it, that's a great find. And sometimes that may be up to the reader. That may be appealing to the reader individually.
Yeah, agreed. Margaret says, my taste ranges from Toni Morrison to Danielle Steele. I am right there with you with Toni Morrison. She was one of my absolute favorites, believe it or not, in elementary school. And when I say that, some people are like, that's bullshit. You didn't read Toni Morrison in elementary school, but yes, I did. Sorry. I think I read Danielle Steele out of peer pressure. I was never really a big Danielle Steele fan, but if you want brain candy, she's definitely one of those, like, you just want to chill out and have a nice fast read that you can finish in like a day or two. So I totally get it. Sula and the Bluest Eye. Absolutely the Bluest Eye. 100%. one of my absolute favorites. So, yeah, actually, these are really great questions, Margaret. Thank you. Truly love questions like this. What book, Ben and Peter, was the most challenging to edit? And in this one, Ben, if you want to say mine, that's totally fine.
No, because I know you did most of that on purpose.
Of course, that's what I did. Sure. Just to mess with you.
Caroline will be glad to know it's not terror at the sound of a whistle. And I'm not going to change that title either, Caroline. That title's going to stick.
Yeah,
because I changed the title to a short story.
Yeah, that's a good title.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was your toughest to edit?
I've got to go with the NFG because it's still going on, and with Tim and the NFG. Really?
It's still going?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
And a lot of it is it has the potential to be very good, but the conversation is it can't be everything that he sees it as being, and so in other words, at one point it's going to be finished, and it's got to be because it's
at some point.
Yeah, and it does work on different. It's a war story, and then pretty much creative nonfiction, but more creative than it's based on experience. But which it's just been difficult because I know where he's coming from and I know where he wants to go, and so it's an extra responsibility to make sure that author is taken care of, and we both cherish that book the way he wants it cherished.
Oh, I see. Understood. Yeah. Got it.
So it's and he's done a lot of extra work and a lot of polish based on my first time through, and so I'm getting ready to go through again and see where we are. But it's been the most times taking anyway. It's the writing's good when the author has I keep telling him, once you get up on that plane where you are talking about this stuff that you feel the most, that's tremendous work. And it's just got to keep that plane going, because when you come down, you come down hard. And which is okay, but you got to maybe ease the reader down a little bit. But because when it gets flat, it gets flat. But when it gets rolling, it's top-notch work.
Got it.
Yeah. Which adds a level to the editing to make sure that the flat comes up, but that top notch doesn't come down. You don't want that to come down. You just need the flat to come up.
Got it.
Yeah.
How about you, Peter? And you don't have to name names. You could just.
I'm not naming names. I actually enjoyed working with all my authors. I really did. I mean, some of them were more difficult than others. Some are more stubborn than others. Which is fine, because I always say this is their work. They have the right to
tell me about it.
I know you've told me about this one author. I know, but there's a collection of short stories that just was like a tilt-a-whirl, because there was no through line to the overall collection, and the stories just went back and forth, just in every different direction. It was really fun to keep up with, but really difficult at times too. I mean, and the way I received the stories, the formatting was horrible, just completely bad. So I had to fix. I spent hours and hours cleaning up the simple formatting, spacing, tabbing, quotes, and all that. But the novel turned out the collection turned out really well, but it took a lot of work, took a lot of effort to get to that finished product. So I'd do it again in a heartbeat, but that's the one that sticks out the most.
I had one. I had an author who I will not name names, and just really fought me on just about every single recommendation. Even when I'm like, understand I'm making this recommendation because X, Y, or Z, and it's a period piece, and the author referenced things that hadn't actually been in existence yet. And so I actually had to go and prove to him that it wasn't in existence yet, in order for him to accept that edit. But at the end of the day, there were several edits that I recommended that he just absolutely refused to do. And to Peter's point, you know, you're the author. It's your baby. You know, it should be what you want it to be. And I honestly, we've had a couple of authors like that across all of our editors, working with them. And I always feel bad because the author demands that this is, you know, now going to be a New York Times bestseller, huge review, you know, blah, blah, blah. And we've had a few times when they demanded that they, you know, get a Kirkus review and a Publisher's Weekly review and so on. And when they actually get the review, they're so brokenhearted because typically the review absolutely reflects what the editor had recommended, and really calls out those areas that really could have used whatever that polish was. So for me, honestly, it's seeing them so brokenhearted when they get that final review. That for me is like the, you know.
You can't really warn them about that either.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of, what are you going to say? Look, we've done this. I've been here before. I've been doing, you know, we've had this press since 2016. I can tell you right now, if it like this is so glaringly obvious, it's what a reviewer is going to focus on, and you're not going to be happy. I mean, that's just like, you know, it is it. And who knows? Maybe this will be the one that is, you know, the we're wrong, and that would be awesome. It just hasn't been true to date. So yeah. Margaret asks, have you ever as an editor thrown your hands up at work you had second thoughts about?
In my mind, I was thinking of this one novel that I literally threw my hands up about. I was trying to work with them. I had signed on because I liked the premise, I liked the writing, but I was about 20 or 30, maybe 50 pages in, having some edits and some suggestions and some questions and whatnot. So I sent this out to him. I was like, are you going to be open to this? I could just get completely blowback in my face. The guy was not willing to change anything. He's like, this is the way it is. You can change a couple of things. So I'm like, well, it was created nonfiction, actually. So, and I like to present authors that I'm working with examples of work that's similar to theirs that they may be able to not copy, but see how they did it. And I suggested this to him, to them, and he just completely took it the wrong way. I mean, he just completely wigged out, started profane emails, nasty communications back and forth. And finally, I just said, you know, I'm done. I can't do it because you're not working. If this is not a collaboration, this is a one-man show, and you didn't sign up for a one-man show. You signed up for collaboration to make it better than it was when you gave it to us. So that's one thing that just sticks out in my mind. Like, what happened? So. Not that I think about it still.
How about you, Ben? Have you ever had one where you were like, oops?
Not necessarily the whole novel, but there have been times when you come across a passage and you wonder who voted yes on the acquiring of this one. What just who? But I'm thinking of a time when when you get to a point where you know it's going to be a lot more work editing it than you expected, and that's usually the indicator. And the one instance I'm thinking of is when I read a passage and going down through it, read the passage. That's great. Read the passage again that was up about exactly. It was just some editing. The author decided to move it, but didn't delete it from one spot. And we got to get rid of this. And then why did he change the font when he was typing? But so it's sometimes it's just the realization that this is going to be more work, and you hope, like Peter's saying, you hope that it's going to stay the collaboration, because that fix was easy. You don't need it in here twice. But that kind of thing that you come across, you're going to see it, and you know that there's going to be a conversation, and you hope that it's taken in the spirit that an editor is handing it to you. Consider this, and to make it better. And the collaboration part is the author's got to know that the editor is there to make it the best it can be. Peter said it. He said it 1,000 times. Make that work, polish it to be the best it can be.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Not to sound arrogant, but we've done this a couple of times, and we know how to work with authors of different attitudes, different personalities, and whatnot. We're not trying to insult you or change you, do anything to your work that you don't want to do, but please be open to our suggestions, at least. Take into consideration what we know and what we can offer you to make your work better than it is currently. That's all.
No, yeah, you're 100%. Admittedly, I, in terms of throwing my hands up, it wasn't me personally. It was actually one of our editors. And the author, I knew the author from Yale Writers Workshop. And I felt bad because it started to become clear to me that the reason this author had chosen to go with us was because she figured she could get out of the contract whenever she wanted to, and the result would be she would have a fully edited work that she could then self-publish. And that's what she did. And I felt horrible for this editor, because the editor worked her hiney off to work with this author. And I mean, they worked a lot together. And the author kept coming back to me saying, like, do you trust this editor? And I was like, absolutely, because she knew me. So, she asked those kinds of questions. And, even at one point had called me and said, because she wanted to talk about the edits that were being recommended, and, was like, well, I could just self-publish this. And I said, that's true. You could, you would just have to let us know that you're, per the contract, you just let us know that, you don't want to publish with us anymore. And that's exactly what she did. So that editor got zero credit because she decided that, she wanted to self-publish it. So that for me was just disgusting. And this is not to give anybody ideas. Please don't ever do this to someone, right? Because believe it or not, these editors, we're all picking titles to work on because we love the writing, right? And we love the story, and we see a lot of potential in them. We're not doing it because we're getting paid millions of dollars, right? None of us are doing that. So, when an author comes forward and is, accusatory or confrontational or, what have you, it's for me as the executive editor, it's absolutely heartbreaking when I get emails or questions or things like that, because I know that every single one of our editors are doing this because they truly love the work and they truly want to see it just flow. So yeah, so that's my 25 cents. Margaret says, Peter, you're the diplomat. Ben?
I'm not.
Actually, I think Ben's a decent diplomat too. I think you're both diplomatic, but in just different.
Yeah, Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah, it does come down to that relationship and being able to have the conversation. And I'll catch myself making a suggestion and then looking at the sentence again and saying, well, just because I wouldn't write it that way doesn't make it editable. It works. So leave it alone, Ben. Just go on. Leave it alone because that's the writer and it works. So some places don't need to be polished, and in the overall scheme of it, and I'll catch myself saying that often, and it's not the way you would write it, but it doesn't need to be the way I would write it, and it shouldn't be the way I write it.
That's true.
I agree. There's times that I go through something, I make a couple changes, make a couple notes, and I go back to review it one more time before I send it to the author. I'm like, that just was right the first time. I didn't need to change that or edit that or make any markup on that whatsoever. It was right the first time. Just leave it alone, Yeah. When it works, it works.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. And there are some times when you gotta, and I think, Peter, you've talked about this in the past, you go through your reading and it's like, what the hell does this mean? And then you get to, a couple paragraphs down or a couple pages down. It's like, oh, it was a reveal. Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Or they were basically setting the stage for something. Oh, I understand now. And then you take out the comments like, what does this mean? I don't understand.
Let's unbold that part because it was all right to begin with.
Right, exactly. It was all perfect. It did exactly what they wanted it to do. So Margaret says, Ben adds comedic relief. Well, in this forum he does. We can't speak to what he does with the authors.
Yeah, I'm terrible. Right, Caroline?
Yeah, that's why Caroline asks for him, because you're so awful.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I'd say overall, most of our editors, they get asked for. They're oftentimes requested by the authors. So, they must be pretty good at this whole collaboration thing.
Yeah. It's that test you give them before you hire them.
That's true. Everybody has to take a test. Yep. It's absolutely true. And they've got to pass it. They don't pass it. Nope. And we've had plenty of people who were, they would make great, like if you wanted to hire them to rewrite your book, and there are editors that's what they're there for. They would be phenomenal in that. But that's not our editing style. So, yeah. Margaret asks, how extensive is the test? I don't know, Ben, Peter, why don't you guys talk to that? Because I'm biased.
50 questions, multiple choice, and 3 essays.
You only had 3 essays? She gave me 4. I went through the extra screening.
Yeah, because they're so questionable. Is it harder to edit a certain genre? You're not awful, Ben. Like, it is more difficult to edit a memoir. All right, before you guys answer that, first give them the real answer, what the test is.
It's a phone call.
The real answer is we're given a couple of passages, like 15, 25 pages of like 1 or 2 different novels, and how we approach this, how we talk to the author, what edits would we suggest, what questions would we ask, how we talk and communicate with the author, that kind of thing, to see, so Lisa can see what the editors, what our style is in terms of approaching the authorial relationship.
Yep.
I like to answer one first, though.
No, yep, that's exactly it. That's what everybody gets.
If you don't do well, you get to edit Shocking Pink.
All right. So back to, oh wow, we only have a minute left. Holy crap.
This one flew.
Yeah, this one totally flew. We've got 2 really detailed questions. Do you want to save it for next week, guys? Or because we could do that. We've got a great question from Caroline and one from Teja. So, hey, Teja, awesome to see you, by the way. So, you know what? Why don't we do that? We'll save these 2 questions for next week. So,
those are good questions.
Yeah, they are. They're very good questions. So with that, I want to thank everybody who joined us and asked us really lively, amazing questions. Teha, Caroline, Margaret, CJ, it was awesome to see you again. I'm just going back to see if I missed anybody. But yeah, you guys are all, as always, phenomenal. And thanks again to Peter and Ben for being here and making this an absolute blast. So with that, love to everybody, and we will see you next week. Ciao.
Have a good week.